Welcome to youtube.com/geekaloud. Today, following on from the Nintendo Direct, we're going to have a quick look at the two new updates to the Nintendo Switch Online section, which included the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance. Basically virtual consoles onto the system. So what you need to do is go into the eShop. We'll have a look at the Game Boy first. Select that one and then go across to free download and free download. And we want to get the other one, so we'll go across to continue shopping. Go down to Game Boy Advance. And the same again with that free download, and then we can close. That will install, or is in the process of installing, both the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance onto the Nintendo Switch. And while they are going through the motions there, I'll tell you about GEA, Gaming Enforcement Agency, on this channel every Thursday, which will be tonight at 8 PM Australian time. Myself, Troy and Unky Dunky will discuss the games we've been playing this week. We will discuss the news of the week, and I would suggest that the Nintendo Direct will get a bit of a run on that one. And then we jump into the standoff, and the standoff is a topic we pick each week. We throw up a number of games into that category and then pick a winner. Last week's category was after the release of GoldenEye on the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox consoles. We asked what was the next best multiplayer experience on the Nintendo 64. I won't spoil that one for you. If you missed out on that, jump into it, have a look. It's available on youtube.com, and it's also available wherever you get your podcasts from. Just search for GEA, Gaming Enforcement Agency, I should say, and it'll pop up there. So we'll have a quick look. We'll jump into the Game Boy. Now, they did reveal a number of the games that were available at launch, and you can see there a few strange ones, I would have thought, though. I don't know where they've got Alone in the Dark from, but in any event, Gargoyle's Quest, which is always a good one back on the Game Boy. Part of the Dungeons and... the Ghouls and Goblins, or Ghosts and Goblins, depending on which version you want to play. They've also got Kirby's Dream Land, Zelda Link's Awakening DX. Again, a bit of a strange one, because they did do the reimagining of that one. That was released as a Nintendo Switch game as well. So you can see there they've got different versions of the game. If you're hovering over it, I would imagine that would be the American one with nothing there, or the US version. Then you've got the European version, as you can see in the bottom right of the icon there. And the same across here. If you go to the DX, there's nothing there. But if you go across that one, that's the French. I would assume that's German, that one. And then you've got Metroid 2, Mario Land 2, the 6 Golden Coins, Tetris, and Wario Land 3. So they're the ones that are available at launch for the Game Boy. We might jump back in there and have a look at one of those playing shortly. But we'll jump across now to the Game Boy Advance. Have a jump into that. And we'll see if they got this one up and running already. They do. So the Game Boy Advance, one player. So a couple of strange ones there. So Kururin, we'll say. Never heard of that one, but you've got a couple of good ones there. So you've got Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap, and there's the European version there. You've got Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, and the European version of it there. So both versions. Mario Kart Super Circuit there, WarioWare, and then you've got the European version of Super Mario Advance 4, but Super Mario Brothers 3. And the normal version there, and then the European version of WarioWare. So what we might do is jump into we'll just go with this one and see how Mario plays on here. So you've got single player option, multiplayer option. We'll jump into the single player to start with. So you got Mario Bros 3 and Mario Bros. I don't think I played this version on the Advance, but we'll see how we go there. I believe this is just the same as the NES version of Mario Brothers 3 with some added levels, etc. Added into the mix as well. So it actually doesn't look bad, all things considered, because as you can see on the screen, but I'm playing it on a 65-inch screen, and given that it originally came off a Gameboy Advance, you know, the small screen that they've got on there, it actually doesn't look too bad, all things considered. So we might jump back to there. We'll go back to the game selection there. Have a quick look at how Mario Kart Super Circuit looks there. So we'll go single player again. One player game, we'll just do a quick run. There we'll just go random instead of everyone's got their own favourite there. So what have we ended up with? Toad in the Mushroom Cup. We'll just do the opening one there, the Peach Circuit. I was just going to see if you can use the triggers, but I haven't seen fit to enable that. And again, this is effectively the Game Boy's version of the original Super Mario Kart on the SNES, so it doesn't actually look too bad. There's a bit of scrubbing on the sides and a bit of almost blur, but you know, the reality is that's sort of to be expected, to be brutally honest. When you're converting it across to the modern consoles, you're going to get a bit of that occurring. So it does play pretty well. It doesn't, you know, you can make an argument as to whether it holds up or doesn't hold up, but it doesn't play too badly. It plays pretty well, I think. But you can see that sort of little bit of a juddering effect that you get there. So that's your selection there, the Game Boy Advance games. There's obviously, as I said, there's going to be some others introduced further down the line, much in the same vein that we have for the NES, SNES, and the Nintendo 64 as well. That they, you know, every month they release another couple of games there. So we might stick with the Mario theme. We'll jump into that. So obviously you've got your monochrome style graphics. It'd be interesting to see, because I know when they were going through the Nintendo Direct, they were talking about the different that you're able to jump between the different you're able to jump between the different Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, etc. So again, I mean, as I said before, playing on a 65-inch screen, to be fair, it actually doesn't look too bad, all things considered. When you think of what the size of the original Game Boy screen and what you're playing on there, it actually doesn't look too bad. Obviously you're going to have to get used to the colour settings, especially for the Game Boy, until you sort of work out how to switch the settings on there to see if you can actually change, but it doesn't look... Oh, there you go. No, that's the pause. And the select button is not giving us anything, so that's... I'll just give it a quick run with the star there. There's your checkpoints for this one. So as I said, if you've never played any of these games, it may take a bit of getting used to just with the colour scheme of them. But to be fair, not a bad opening selection for them there. Metroid 2, Mario Land 2, that was always a favourite of mine back in the day. And Zelda Link's Awakening is probably in the top 5, in my opinion, for Zelda games. The remake, obviously, that they've had on the Switch, if you do have that version, in my opinion, is probably the best version there. Especially when you're comparing it to today's graphical styles, etc. Kirby's Dream Land's not a bad one. Never played Alone in the Dark, and as I said before, that's we've seen it a few times with some of the other releases they've had on the previously released SNES, NES, and Nintendo 64. So they come up with some strange selections, to be fair. The pick of the bunch here, obviously Zelda and the Minish Cap. We had a look at Mario Kart Super Circuit, which wasn't too bad. Mario Brothers 3 is always a classic, and never played the Superstar Saga for Mario and Luigi. So there's a quick overview of the releases for the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance, and we'll just, seeing as we're here, we might just jump in and have a quick look. And they did do a stealth drop or a stealth release for us in regards to Metroid Prime Remastered. So the first one there, so it's $59.95. That is Australian dollars. So you're probably looking, without knowing the conversion rates off the top of my head, you're probably looking at about 40 odd-ish US dollars for that one. Never really got into the Metroid Prime game, so couldn't tell you a whole lot about that one, but that's a bit of a bonus that they've dropped that today. So, as I said, quick overview there of the releases onto the Nintendo Switch console after the Nintendo Direct today. As I said before, we've got GEA coming up this evening at about 8 o'clock Australian time. Make sure that you join us for that. And if for some reason you can't join us, make sure that you jump on to your favourite podcast service and jump on there. Make sure that you listen through there. And if you can, leave us a rating and a review. It always helps with us. And that'll wrap it up for today. And if you've liked what you've seen, make sure you like it, subscribe it, and you'll never miss it.
Oh, that was luck. Hey, that's something. Oh, look out!
Two players play.
Old Uncle Donkey. Donkey.